Can I cook these supermarket beef ribs on this battered 15-year-old Weber kettle? Let's find out. So first things first, we're going to rub our ribs. That's just going to give a bit of time for the rub to sit on the meat while we sort the barbecue out, get it lit and bring it up to temperature. These are the Sainsbury's ribs. I've cooked these a few times and they're actually pretty good. Let me show you the difference between the two I got in the pack. This first rib has got a nice thick fat cap on it and beautiful marbling all the way through the meat. Second one, we got some pretty poor butchery here. Bit of silver skin on the top and no fat cap at all. So, they're probably going to react a bit differently on the smoker, but beef ribs are pretty forgiving, so we shouldn't have a problem. So with this one, as you can see, we've just got this sort of fin at the end. It actually looks like it might have got smashed in the packaging, but got this huge amount of fat up here. So what we're going to do is just come across here, take quite a lot of that off, maybe take some of this silver skin off the top, and then we'll get them rubbed. So much better, more uniform shape there. My knife would almost not go through the silver skin, so we definitely want to take that off because that's not going to render down while we cook them. So I'm just trying to run the knife underneath that skin and just sort of take the very least amount of meat with it. I'm not the very best with a knife. So just try and go slowly. The knife can almost run up against the bottom side of the skin rather than having to find its own path through the meat, basically. And that way you're going to minimise how much meat you take off with it. Just any little flaps that you've caused during the trim. So pretty happy with that. It's easy with beef ribs to get worried that you're taking loads off, but as soon as these start to smoke, you're going to see them puff up. They actually seem to get bigger in size while they smoke and contract on the bone. So don't worry if it looks like there's not much meat there. Usually they come out pretty well. And then with this one, I'm just looking for any areas of hard fat that I don't think is going to render. This stuff on the top is beautiful. There's a bit of silver skin underneath it, but I want to leave that fat on there, so I'm not going to trim that. I'm just going to take this bit down and then we can get them rubbed. So there we go, pretty happy. You can see this one's got a lot more thickness to it. We've obviously taken a bit off here. So this one's probably going to take a bit longer to cook, but this is probably going to be the better end result out of the two because it's significantly more marbled, as you can see. So yeah, happy with both of these. I'm going to go wash up. I want one clean hand for rubbing. And we get our rub on, get the barbecue sorted. Right, simple French's binder. These are actually pretty wet, so they might not need a binder, but there's a bit of flavour we're going to get from the French's, so we'll crack on. As I say, just one hand clean so I can touch bottles and anything else without worrying about it. Get these both rubbed with the mustard. And we'll go in with our rub. The rub is Brew and Briskets from Norfolk Smoke Pit. Love Poppy's rubs. Small business, one woman band, but more importantly the rubs are class. So yeah, go check out Norfolk Smoke Pit. Poppy is also mega into barbecue. So what more reason do you need to buy from a small independent business than that? Just looking for a good liberal coating. Season the bone side as well. Right, so pretty happy with those. They're rubbed. These were also dry brined about 4 or 5 hours ago, first thing this morning. The rub is a pretty low salt rub, it's only 8% salt, so we've used about 50 grams there, that's 4 grams of salt. We can use much more than that in ribs like this, so I used about a tablespoon to dry brine this morning. They sat for 4 or 5 hours in the fridge, and they'll probably sit for about an hour in the rub, which is plenty. I'm gonna go wash up and let's sort this barbecue. Yeah, it's in pretty bad nick. So my original plan with this video was going to be about making good quality beef ribs on an average barbecue. I've bought new grill grates to replace this, but as far as I knew, everything else was working okay, and I was just going to demonstrate that in even a cheap barbecue with good air control, you can make good barbecue food. However, it's a lot worse in here than I thought. Charcoal grate's okay, but the bottom vents are an absolute mess. One of them is broken completely, and this thing to control the airflow is completely welded shut. So ultimately I'm going to have almost no control over the airflow in the bottom of the barbecue. But what I've decided is basically that these vents here being a little bit loose is probably going to give me enough air in to cook how I want to. So then I'm just going to use the top vent to control the air out. And I still think we're going to be able to make some pretty good beef ribs in this barbecue. And the point of the video is, if I can do it in this, then you can do it in anything. So we can't control the airflow in. Charcoal grates back on. I'm going to take these out, so I'm going to do a snake today. Let's get our charcoal set up, wood chunks ready, and then we'll get the new grill out and get that on. Using some older charcoal today. Take out some of these bigger lumps. In a small barbecue like this, you sort of want to make sure that all the charcoal is connected in a nice snake shape so that you don't lose the burn by big lumps of charcoal. If they sit together like this in your barbecue, then it can only burn from here to here through that one contact point, where with a lot of smaller lumps of charcoal Gives us much easier control for that burn to propagate around the barbecue. So there's our snake. We'll light up one end, add some wood chunks. That's going to give us a lovely long burn time. We might need to top up as we go, but that's probably going to give us, I'd have thought, 4 or 5 hours. Just going to light half a chimney of charcoal and we'll tip that out at one end just to get us going. Cool, so as the chimney catches, we'll get the new grill out and then we're basically ready to go. So there we go. I've gone for the upgraded grill on this one. I find having the handles really useful because you can pick it up and move your meat. And then we've obviously got the little folding element here that allows us to top charcoal up. So this barbecue cost me less than 100 quid about 15 years ago. This cost me 43 quid, I think, to upgrade it. But you know, if it gets this up and running perfectly again, we'll be super happy. I don't think it's big enough. Oh man, I thought I had the 47cm old Weber here. Turns out I think I've got the 57cm. So let's problem solve this. We can obviously use the old one, which I guess is 57cm. I wonder if these grills will fit on there. Nope. So, scratch the new grill content, we're going with the old grill. I mean, it's not in great nick, it's bloody rusty, so I'm going to give that a clean now. This is what we're using. We're going to be bone side down anyway, but we don't eat. And then I'm going to put these in a foil boat of some sort when they hit temperature. So, back to the original grill grates. I think this charcoal's almost ready to tip out, and then we can finish getting the barbecue set up. For some reason, I would always burn clockwise. Don't know, just habit. But for the sake of where the camera is, I'm going to tip this out here and then we'll build our wood chunks up, get the temperature stabilised and go from there. So I'm going to use some of our smaller wood chunks because we've got a bit less space underneath the grill. So we'll put one on our lit charcoal and then we're going to put 3 more around the edge of the snake here, and just got to make sure that they all sit under the height of the grill grate. Tidy up our charcoal. We just want to minimise the chance of any of this charcoal catching too early. There we go, pretty happy with that. So let's get these grill grates on. What side's the cleaner side? Neither. Get our lid on. And we're just going to start working on stabilising our temperature. And let's get a pit probe in there. Cool, so what we've done here is just a bit of a 2-for-1. We've just got a bit of a heat deflector down here. Beef ribs are going to sit here, and that's just going to block the most of the direct heat in a small barbecue like this. And then it's held our pit probe there, which we might just want to move once the beef is on. So, lid on. And we're going to have the vents over here so that the smoke can flow up over the food and out the top vent over here. Right, let's turn this probe on. I'm going to look for anywhere between about 110 and 150. I'm pretty happy smoking these hot and fast if we need to, but I mean, I've got plenty of time with 2 individual ribs to cook them low and slow. So let's sort of see where this stabilises with the lid vent halfway closed and the bottom vents wherever they want to be, and then we'll make a decision about how we're going to cook them. Sweet, I'm going to pack that new grill grate away, and then I'll see you for when we get the meat on. Right, so that's stabilised. It's around the high 120s, so it's neither that sort of traditional low and slow or the modern hot and fast, but it's a great temperature for these beef ribs, so let's get them on. Right, all we've got to do now is monitor that pit temperature. So the lid's back on, the temperature's climbing. If that stabilises again at about 125, 130, I'll be really, really happy. If we do see it dropping, we'll just creep open that top vent a little bit. That should draw more air through, and that should rise the temperature. So I'm going to go get rid of this trim, wash my hands, and then I'm going to come and enjoy the sunshine. So I'll see you in a bit. So temperature was dropping, it dropped from 130 to 110 and it was still dropping, so I've just nudged that top vent open. You can see already we've got better flow of smoke through the barbecue. That means more airflow, means more oxygen, so we're going to see our temp climb again. So my temperature's been shooting up for a little bit now. We're at 165 degrees C, so we're above even hot and fast. So we just want to come in and sort that out, but I'm going to take the chance to take the lid off, see where the ribs are up to, and I might swap them around just so we get even cooking across the two. So let's go. Yeah, so you see here, we've got much faster cooking on this one nearer the heat, so let's give those a swap around. We'll move the grill grates just to get them away from the heat a little bit, and I might just take a chance to try and adjust some of this charcoal. So I've shut that top vent completely down with no control over the bottom vents. We really do need to try and slow this down, otherwise we're just going to be cooking way too fast. What's happened here is we've still got a bit of the charcoal back here burning, but we've got an oak chunk giving us a load of heat, so we just want to slow everything down. Hopefully we can get this temperature dropping, and then when we have, we'll just creep the vent back open on the top. We've got no issue with airflow. As you can see, we've got smoke leaking out the sides of the barbecue, so we're not going to limit airflow too much that it goes out. So yeah, keep an eye on it now, try and drop that temperature back down. Right, we've dropped the temperature down, 142. So let's just notch open our vent a little bit. There we go. And we're just going to stay laser-eyed on this. Just while we're here, I'm just going to check the temperature of the two ribs quickly. We can get a probe into one of them, just a leave-in probe, and then we'll be monitoring pit temp and meat temp, and we'll be in complete control. Cool, so we're sitting about 78 degrees C on both of the beef ribs, so they're cooking at a pretty similar rate. I was going to wrap about 75, we're at 78, so we're going to wrap now. I'm going to grab a foil boat, a little bit of liquid, and foil over the top, get them back on, and then we're just going to see it through to about 95, 96 degrees C. So these look and smell absolutely unreal. Whoa, hot. Good pullback on the bones, decent bark on them both, nice jiggle, so they're still plenty moist. I'm just going to go in with some beef stock. That's just going to create a nice steamy environment, and a bit of whiskey. That's just for flavour. It's nice and tightly crimped off all the way around. Get a probe in, and our lid back on, and now all we've got to do is monitor our internal temperature until it 95 degrees C. Then we're going to come back, probe them, and they're ready to pull up and rest when they probe like butter. So we're sitting at 90 degrees in the rib that I've got the probe in. I'm going to turn them around again just to face the other one to the heat source. We'll take these up to 95, 96, probe them all over to make sure they're done, and then they're going to come off for a rest. Just move these grills a little bit. My heat's here now, so just want to move that away from the heat source. And we're going to finish this cook easily on that single load of charcoal, so super efficient. Sweet, so barbecue's nice and stable, about 145 degrees C. My probe's going to buzz when I hit 95 degrees C internal, so I'll see you then. So that's 95, time to pull off the lid, get our instant read thermometer, give a few checks all over, and most importantly here we're checking for probe tenderness, so the probe wants to go in as if they're soft as butter. So these are probing perfectly. We're going to pull it off the barbecue, get it wrapped in some extra foil, into a towel and into the Yeti, where it's going to rest for 2 or 3 hours until we want to eat for dinner tonight. So you can see here we've used about 2/3 of our snake. That's probably about 1 kilo of charcoal, maybe a little bit less. So that's like 1/6 of one of our bags. Whoa. Look at these, they look absolutely stunning. Great bark, lovely jiggle on them. Now we want to wrap with all that lovely liquid in there, so I'm going to replicate what we did on the grill. We're going to use this foil tray, just completely reseal the top, get that into the towel and into the cooler. There we go, nicely swaddled. In a cooler like this, you can easily rest for 3 or 4 hours without worrying about losing too much temperature. So I haven't preheated the Yeti. These are just going straight in like this, and they'll come out when I'm ready to cut them up. There we go. I'm going to take these inside to rest. I'm going to clear up, and I'll see you when we're ready to eat in a bit. So we're back, it's coming on 7 PM. These have had a 3-hour rest while I walked the dog and got my hair cut. So let's get them out and see how we did. These smell absolutely unreal. So, as you know, we didn't take the membrane off these, so we might be able to pull the bones out clean, but we're still going to have that membrane on the back, so we're going to have to look out for that. There's the membrane. Well, there's part of the membrane. There's one. These are still warm, obviously a long rest, and I didn't heat the cool box, but they're still like eating temperature for sure. 2 pretty clean bones, always a sign of successful beef ribs. And we're going to eat one of these, and we're going to save one of these. Tackle this membrane. I haven't properly smoked beef ribs for ages. Nothing like them in my opinion. Cool, so let's slice both these open and see how we got on. Right, that's number one. Success. Beautiful, tender, pull apart. I've just got to try a bit. Yeah, that's mega. The rub's delicious. You've got this soft gelatinous bark on the top. It's wrapped with liquid, so it's always going to soften a little bit. And this is the one that was visibly less marbled, and this is the one, therefore, that I'm expecting a sort of less good result because there's less fat in there. Yeah, so definitely less good. You've got one that's like dripping with that rendered fat, but this is still moist. You know, see if I can show you that. Still lovely and moist, still super tender. Also, really stunning. I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna have the slightly less good one tonight because the fatty one's gonna reheat better. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So we'll keep that. In fact, I'm gonna put that back in the braising liquid and I'll just foil that back up. We'll lose the bark this way, but I'll foil it back up. Just keep it in the fridge like this, and then we can reheat it through in the oven with the foil on. Just bring it back to temperature that way. And then with this stuff, we're gonna make some tacos. So we'll just slice it up. I'm gonna go wash up. I've got some tortillas steaming inside, so we'll grab those and make some tacos. So let's get these tortillas out. These are homemade. Haven't got this recipe on YouTube, but they're really easy. So if you do want to see it, stick that in the comments and I'll get that filmed. They're so much better than the ones you get in the shops. Right, so I've got a super easy coleslaw, carrot and cabbage, mayo, lime juice, salt, pepper, tiny bit of sugar, and a tiny bit of apple cider vinegar. This is just like super zingy, really limey, and that sort of freshness, the crunch, the citrus, just already cuts through the fattiness of the beef ribs, so absolutely perfect. There you go, perfect. And then we're just gonna layer up our beef rib, a bit on each of these. Beautiful. Bit of fresh coriander. Tastes amazing, but the bright green pops as well, and it looks amazing. If you're more organised than me, you can do this ahead of time. I'm not organised. There we go. Load of fresh coriander. And then for me, the only hot sauce for these tacos is Cholula. Nice level of heat, but it's not too hot, so it's not going to overpower the flavour of the beef. It's just got that nice warmth to balance everything out. And then these are ready to go. Right, these look absolutely banging, so it's time for me to eat. This was beef rib tacos, smoked on the oldest, crappiest, most broken Weber you're gonna find. And the point of this video really was to not be scared to get out there and try some smoking. If you've got a barbecue with air in and air out controls, or in this case, just air out controls, you're still gonna be able to produce pretty epic results. So get out there, give it a go, and please let me know in the comments how you get on. Right, time for me to eat one of these little beauties. That is something special. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please give us a like and a subscribe, support what we're doing here, and I'll see you soon.